So this HOA president literally kicks down my cabin door, right, when I'm having a beer with the state's attorney general. She just committed 6 felonies in front of the one person in America who could throw her in prison. I'm talking full-on wood splintering, designer heels clicking on broken glass, the whole 9 yards. This woman in her $1,000 blazer, reeking of perfume that probably cost more than my truck payment, storms into my grandfather's cabin screaming about violations and jurisdiction like she owns the place. Zero clue who she just barged in on. Zero clue she's live-streaming her own arrest warrant to 3,000 followers. 6 months earlier, I thought Karen was just your typical power-drunk neighbor. Turns out she was running a $4 million embezzlement scheme, and I was about to burn her entire criminal empire to the ground. What would you do if some HOA psychopath invaded your private property during the most important meeting of your life? Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I guarantee half of you have dealt with these neighborhood dictators before. Let me back up. My name is Marcus Henley, 52. After 30 years of crawling trenches installing power grids, I'd finally earned my retirement. My crown jewel, Pop's fishing cabin on Clearwater Lake, 2 acres of heaven he bought in 1963 for $800. Hand-hewn logs, stone fireplace, screened porch that creaked in all the right places. I'd kept it off-grid, solar panels, well-water septic that worked better than city setups. Pop always said, "The land picks you, not the other way around." And when someone wants your land real bad, find out why. Then she showed up. Delilah Cromwell. Everyone just called her that HOA psycho. 58 years old, Escalade with vanity plates reading Rule 1, HOA badge on her blazer like a sheriff's star. Her mission? Transform our rustic lakefront into an upscale resort community. Within 2 months, 3 elderly couples had sold their cabins. Coincidence? Not likely. Her first act of war came on a Tuesday morning. I'm sipping coffee on the porch when I hear heels on my dock. Minutes later, she tapes a citation to my screen door. Unsightly dock structure damaging community property values. Fine $500. Compliance required within 72 hours. That dock wasn't just wood. It was history. Pop and I rebuilt it when I was 12. I explained my property predated the HOA by 40 years. She smirked. "Everyone on this lake answers to me, sweetie." Asked the Hendersons how fighting me worked out. The Hendersons had just downsized after 23 years. My stomach went cold. By week's end, I had 3 more citations. Fines escalated. It was war. Then came the lawyer letter. Blackstone. Meyer and Associates, claiming my dock illegally extended into community waterway. Retroactive fees, $3,000. Threats of a lien. I panicked until I remembered Pop's words. The truth is always in the county records. At the courthouse, Sweet Betty the clerk helped me dig up Pop's 1963 deed. It clearly included 50 feet into the lake. My dock was smack in the middle of my own water. The HOA didn't even exist until 1998. I marched home proud, until I found her Escalade blocking my driveway like a personal checkpoint. "Just reviewing. Community parking regulations," she purred. That was the day I knew this wasn't going to stop. She escalated. A beautification committee weaponized against non-compliant owners. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Facebook posts accused eyesore properties of hurting values. Behind closed doors, some whispered apologies. She'd threatened them with citations, too. Her political connections made sense. Her husband, Robert Cromwell, was the state party treasurer. Suddenly, this wasn't neighborhood drama. The harassment intensified. "Comply or leave" spray-painted on my mailbox, caught on my hidden camera. Karen's license plate clear as day. Sheriff's office sent Deputy Chad Cromwell, her nephew, who dismissed it as kids. My blood boiled. Next came inspections. Building Inspector Dale, Environmental Officer Janet, Fire Marshal Bob, all sent by complaints. Each found my property spotless, but the paper trail painted me as a problem. Classic. Bureaucratic harassment. She doubled down on Media.Channel. 7 spotlighted her as a concerned citizen protecting families. She stood on my dock claiming it was illegal. Neighbors bombarded me with angry texts. For the first time, I felt isolated, but allies rose. My old union buddy Jake rallied 20 electricians to vouch for my solar setup, dismantling her safety hazard lawyer. Friend Chuck mentioned the attorney general's office was investigating HOA corruption, statewide, patterns identical to what I described. Elderly homeowners harassed into selling, values manipulated, developers swooping in. I began documenting everything, digging deeper. I uncovered fraud. The Community Improvement Fund fines weren't in public filings. Instead, $280,000 in emergency dock assessments never used, $150,000 to Cromwell Grounds and Maintenance, a company created 3 weeks after she became president, owned by her brother-in-law, insurance claims for storm damage that never happened, fake invoices, shell companies. Fraud, plain and simple. Chuck connected me with 17 other families. Their stories mirrored mine. Bogus fines, intimidation, forced sales at below market. Retired accountant Frank Weber confirmed the HOA hadn't filed tax returns in years. We were looking at tax evasion, embezzlement, insurance fraud, and property manipulation. The AG's office sent Sarah Mitchell and David Bennett, FBI agent. Rebecca Torres looped in. They confirmed my evidence tied into a larger multi-county scheme, but they needed Karen caught in the act, so we set a trap. The AG would announce HOA reform at my cabin. Karen, predictably unable to resist controlling her lake, would show up. We rigged the cabin with hidden cameras, undercover officers, and media waiting in the wings. Karen must have sensed pressure. Her sabotage escalated, tampering with my solar system. False police reports, restraining orders claiming I was aggressive. Judge dismissed it. But damage lingered. Social media bots painted me as a danger, yet community support rallied, VFW. Historical Society, environmental groups, even retired judges spoke out for me. Finally, the day came. My cabin turned into ground zero. Prosecutors, FBI, undercover officers, waiting. Karen stormed in mid-announcement, heels clacking, perfume cloud preceding her. Screaming violations. She didn't realize every word was being recorded. She didn't realize the Attorney General herself was present. She didn't realize 3,000 viewers were watching her live stream her own arrest warrant. Pop always said, "When someone wants your land, find out why." I found out. Karen wasn't just an HOA bully. She was the center of a criminal enterprise. And thanks to evidence, allies, and one well-laid trap, we burned it to the ground. New beat pause, fresh escalation begins. Jake inspected my solar system and found wires loosened just enough to disrupt power. "Marcus, this is professional sabotage," he said, snapping photos. Luckily, he'd hidden a security camera by the panel. 2 nights later, it caught Karen Cromwell herself creeping around with a screwdriver and cutters. Next came my boat dock. While I was in town, Pop's old 1978 base boat was cut free. I found it scratched against the far shore, chains sliced clean with bolt cutters. Then Karen targeted my septic system. Though I'd just passed county inspection, it suddenly failed. The stench was overwhelming. A technician showed industrial drain cleaner had been poured in, killing the system. The $3,200 damage also provided forensic proof, deliberate chemical sabotage. While I fought sewage, Karen launched her media blitz. Anonymous accounts spammed social media with copy-paste posts about my unsafe property. Deputy Chad Cromwell patrolled daily, parking in my driveway, running plates. Inspectors reappeared with new violations, anonymous tips, bogus reports. And she didn't stop with me. She targeted my supporters. Jake's license was suddenly under review. Retired judge. Bill Carter faced a bogus bar complaint. The VFW post got hit with fire inspections. The Historical Society was accused of zoning violations. Karen's message was clear. "Help Marcus, and you'll regret it." The stress was brutal, but every act of sabotage created more evidence. The AG's office tracked everything FBI. Agent Torres called it classic escalation, a desperate perpetrator exposing herself. Karen's last move was bold. Through her husband's political ties, she learned the truth. I wasn't meeting just anyone, but the state attorney general herself, Patricia Williamson. Instead of backing down, Karen staged her own trap. She'd paint herself as a victim of political persecution. By live streaming a confrontation at my cabin, she'd frame Williamson as corrupt and herself as a whistleblower. She recruited blogger networks, pitching herself as a small-town leader silenced by big government. Outrage posts went viral, strangers branding me a state operative. Karen planned to burst into my cabin mid-meeting, live streaming proof of government corruption. What she didn't know, Agent Torres had her communications under surveillance. We knew about the live stream, her talking points, everything. Torres smiled. She'll commit multiple felonies on camera while giving us motive in real time. Karen's support network was collapsing, board members distancing. Her husband under ethics review, Deputy Chad, reassigned. But paranoia consumed her. She called neighbors with threats. Convinced of conspiracies, law enforcement recorded it all. The night before, I sat on Pop's porch, sunset glowing over Clearwater Lake. This was bigger than me now. It was about whether connected bullies could terrorize communities without consequence. Tomorrow would decide everything. Morning came. Cameras hidden. Law enforcement ready. Williamson arrived, calm, sharp-eyed, carrying evidence. She told me my documents exposed corruption in 6 counties, a statewide pattern of organized theft. That's when we heard it, the roar of Karen's Escalade. She screeched into my drive, gravel flying, barking orders to her crew. Crash! She kicked my door open mid-live stream. Wood splintered. Coffee mug shattered. Phone raised. She screamed about persecution, demanding answers. Then Williamson rose, showing her badge. Mrs. Cromwell, I am the Attorney General. You've just committed multiple felonies in my presence. Karen froze. Her live stream captured every second as her followers realized their hero was a criminal. FBI agents swept in. Torres declared, Mrs. Cromwell, you're under arrest for fraud, extortion, intimidation, and harassment. Thanks to your live stream, we have 3,000 witnesses. Handcuffs clicked. Her phone clattered, still streaming. Neighbors stood outside in stunned silence as she was walked past the dock. Solar panels and cabin she'd tried to destroy. She shouted, This isn't over. My husband will fix this. But we knew better. 3 months later, justice came. Judge Harrison sentenced her to 3 years federal prison, $340,000 restitution, and a lifetime HOA ban. Her husband Robert resigned in disgrace, serving 18 months for conspiracy. The HOA was dissolved, replaced by a voluntary neighbor-run group. I received whistleblower compensation, $45,000, from recovered fraud funds. But the real victory was bigger. Attorney General Williamson built the Henley Act, mandating annual HOA audits and penalties for harassment-based fraud. Our case uncovered over 24 related schemes across 5 states. Families driven away returned. Property values soared. Clearwater Lake thrived. My off-grid cabin became a model of sustainability, featured in state programs. I launched Pop's Legacy Scholarship for trade students. We hosted annual festivals funding veterans' housing. The lake turned from battleground to community hub. Now, at sunset, I sit on Pop's porch, loons calling across the water, the panels hum, powering peace. No more citations, no more intimidation, just the knowledge that sometimes David really does beat Goliath. Netflix just wrapped a documentary, HOA, Hell, How One Man Took Down a Criminal Empire, set to premiere next spring. With the proceeds, I built a guest cabin for others fighting HOA, bullies, because Karen wasn't unique there. Our Cromwells across America. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment with your HOA nightmare. You're not alone. Hit subscribe for more stories of everyday people beating corrupt systems. Next week, the city councilman who tried to shut down a veteran's food truck until his Pentagon buddies showed up, where HOA Karens finally meet their match.